Meek Mill, welcome to the 6ABC
Yeah,
studios.
thank you for having me.
Glad
I
to
did a
see
lot
you.
of watching it
Yeah.
for the last 6 months.
Action News,
Yeah, a lot.
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
That moment when you were released from prison, you then took off in an awaiting helicopter.
Yeah.
Describe for us, what those moments were like.
Uh, it was mind blowing for me. I don't really remember. I think I was watching Action News. Do Action News come on at 4 o'clock?
We do.
Yeah, I actually was watching at 4 o'clock. They do like a count every day. You gotta lock in at 4 o'clock, and I just used to watch the news. And I actually was watching the news, and it was like Meek Mill is up for bail. I'm like, what? And then I
That's
jumped
how you
up.
found out?
Yeah, that's how I found out from watching the news. I think Action News to be exact. And I jumped up, and next thing you know, they was telling me to pack my stuff up, and my adrenaline was rushing so much because I kind of already had like my next 2 years of my life chalked up. So it was like an overwhelming feeling of just getting hit with that news out of nowhere. And then when I walked outside, it's a helicopter out there. Then I'm flying to a basketball game. It felt like you like living in a dream. You know what I'm saying? And I barely even remember walking out that place. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so surreal. I don't even remember like that.
I mean, let's just be honest, it was a quite the departure
Yeah.
that unfolded for you.
Yeah.
You then leave there and head straight to the 76ers game.
Yeah.
What about that grand entrance there?
I didn't really like the entrance there. Well, what? Ringing the bell was good. I had on the clothes I had on from a state penitentiary. I didn't really want to be seen like that. I'm like, I want to hide from the cameras. I would have went in the other door where nobody seen me at, so they didn't have to see me with them nasty clothes on. But the greatest part about it, I got to reunite with my son right there at the game. So my son loves going to the game. We always used to go to games together, and that was the best part of the night.
How old is he now?
7 years old. He
7.
just turned 7 last Sunday.
Yeah, and you too celebrated a birthday.
Yeah, a week before. So, I kind of made it out right before my birthday, before my son's birthday. My son used to always ask me, what we doing for my birthday, Dad? I'm in jail, and I really couldn't give him an explanation, and that took a toll on me. So being me, I was able to make it home before that was a blessing. So, we had a lot of fun for my birthday and his birthday.
So being there with your son, surely a highlight to be reunited with him. What about the moments of ringing that bell at the 76ers game?
Ringing the bell, just having that much support and feeling it that fast. It was super good, but it was a little bit too much for me. I ain't go to sleep for 2 days after. Just everything was so exciting. I never been that excited in my life, like being in the cell and being down. Like you watching the news, you down, so you watch TV to kind of take your mind away from what you're going through. And then 2 hours later, you at the game where the Sixers is in the playoffs. That's great news. The crowd is showing me a lot of support. Everybody's showing me support. So, it was a little overwhelming, but it felt super good. The feeling was good.
It seemed orchestrated. I'm surprised to hear you didn't know it was going to go down like that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I would have had. Usually, when you get out of prison, everybody, your family members could bring you clothes, probably a few hours early. I ain't had no clothes. I ain't had anything. I just had to walk into that. And when usually, like when Supreme Court or Superior Court make judgment, it's not when you're in court. You don't have to go to court. You file a motion, and they can make a judgment any day from there on out. And that was the day they made it. And I actually never even called home that day. I watched the news. They told me to pack up.
Yeah.
I went to the receiving room where you get processed at, and I waited there till I got out. I didn't know it was people outside. I didn't know it was media. Well, 10 minutes before I knew it was media, because the people that run the prison was like, it's a lot of people outside. We need to get you out of here swift. Yeah.
Have you felt that Philadelphia, your hometown, understands you? Talk to me about the connection you have with this city.
This is the place where I grew up. I got a lot of Philadelphia pride. A lot of people know me here. I've been like a public figure for the last, even before I was nationwide, I was like Philadelphia-wide. They knew me here even before I was signed to a major label. So, I got a history. And even through YouTube, through media, through content, people know my story. They see my upbringing. You see me as a little kid with the nappy braids, like on the corner rapping, to signing with Rick Ross, to being in a public relationship, or to being arrested for sentenced to a lot of time for a small technical violation. So I think people kind of grown a attachment with me in my hometown because they know my story. And a lot of people, even if you don't know me, you may feel as though you know me from.
What kept you going when you were refined and not able to live the way you wanted to? What was your motivation?
My motivation, this is normal to me the way we was brought up. Like people go to jail for the smallest things our whole lives. So it was kind of it was worse now knowing that I'm not even close to the life of crime and I'm still sitting in prison. That was frustrating to me. But this is like coming up. It was like you had to go to jail just to make it being young and black. That was the mind frame we had. But at this point, even seeing this many people stand up for me and support me and march for me and come out on the strength of my name, it made me value myself more and appreciate life more and appreciate who I am more. And that's why I'm here today on platforms like this, speaking up for justice reform and reaching back to help some of the people, families who stood out and marched for me.
Yeah. Your plight, your struggle, it's playing out very publicly.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable being in this new role?
I wouldn't say I'm fully comfortable because I'm always overwhelmed. If I ain't on stage and I'm in front of a group of people, or I'm on a platform where I know a lot of people are watching me, I'm always uncomfortable. That's just the way I am. A lot of people say, "Are you a rapper? You perform in front of a lot of people." It's kind of different. You don't really see it or feel it, but I would say yeah. But I'm learning.
Taking on the criminal justice reform, I mean, it is a monumental issue.
Yeah.
Do you feel that sharing your personal story, which now it is everywhere, that
Yeah.
it can truly have an impact for the thousands of others who may be in a similar situation?
Yeah, I think right now is just the perfect time. We got a district attorney who used to be a civil rights attorney who understands that everybody in prison doesn't belong to be in prison. We got an AG in Pennsylvania where they're supporting justice reform. We got a governor supporting justice reform. We have a mayor who's supporting justice reform. So I think it's a perfect season. The biggest rapper from Philadelphia just was put in jail over a minor technical violation. I was sent to a state prison. The whole city of Philadelphia, the nation, the United States spoke up on my behalf and supported. I think it's just the right time for me to participate and invest some of my energy into helping trying to change some of the errors in the justice system that's been placed upon us for a long time now.
What's it like having this kind of support? You know, there are NFL owners, there are billionaire business people. There were people who just know you from the city, lined up along the streets, people who are just standing with you, maybe have never met you.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart, we could keep listing the names. What's it like then to have so many people backing your cause?
It's a big responsibility, and being on probation, I'm still on probation. The smallest mistake can put you in prison. So, I had this many people stand up for me and vouch for me and, put their name, align their names along with mine. It's a big responsibility, and I always tell people I made it this far without any support. I grew up in a single-parent home, just me and my mom at work, my sister, me and my sister. I actually made it this far without as much as support as I'm getting now, so I just think I can do more great things and be legendary with the type of support that I'm getting now and, take my resources and make great things happen. I never had. I've been to jail for this same situation probably 2-3 times, technical violations, where nobody said anything. So, people stood up this time and, helped me regain my freedom, helped me shed light on my situation. So, I feel like it's a big responsibility to do what I need to do to help make change and also be successful and prove people wrong.
Yeah. Philadelphia, you grew up in North Philadelphia, so
Yeah.
clearly your hometown is a source of inspiration, but it's also been ground zero for
Yeah.
your struggles. What would you say to the young boys and the young girls who are coming up just as you did in the city as far as inspiration and advice to them?
My main thing is I would always say, this is what I always use. I go back and look at older footage of myself because a lot of kids, they're discouraged and they believe that you made it, you had a shot. And I go right to YouTube and go right back to when I'm 14 years old, just another ghetto young kid, rapping, cussing, in an environment where there's drugs and violence everywhere, where I made a decision where I dedicated my life to music, whatever it is. If you dedicate your life to education, you dedicate your life to whatever you want it to be, you can make it. And I'm a perfect example of that. When I come around people like Michael Rubin and them, I never hung around people who's worth billions of dollars. Being as though I'm hanging around a person that's worth billions of dollars, I see his daily grind. I see the things I see why he is a billionaire, because how hard he works and the work he put in, and it inspires me. So it don't have to be me. Take somebody else's story and you see what another human being is capable of. You take it and you make that your world, and you believe in yourself. Because I always believed in myself. I did a previous interview where they said, do you think you would be here if the judge would have gave you more time? I'm like, this wasn't really up to a judge. This was just God and me. I believed in myself. God gave me the drive to take things to the next level. No matter what I was put through by another human being, I think I would be here because I believed in myself. But it was one point where I thought you only go to jail or you die young, because that's all we seen in our environments growing up. And we got social media now. You can always watch me. I'm always here to show you that you don't have to die in your neighborhood. You don't have to go to prison to be respected or have support, because where we come from, that's all we see and all we know. So, I say believe in yourself, dedicate your life to your mission, and, shoot for the stars. Because they used to tell me, you could be anything you want. I used to be like, how you could be anything you want when this little kid just got shot, this little kid just died? They can't be anything they want. Like, most likely this is going to happen to me. And I'm one of the, because they say 10% of young black Americans make it to a certain level of success. I'm one of the ones that's headed that way, because I feel like I got focused and I dedicated myself to just being successful, or being a successful rapper and making it to a certain level. So I would say dedicate your life to what you want to be.
Yeah. You talked about your focus on a personal reflection. If we look at outside of the bias that may be in the system, when you look at your own personal reflection, do you own up to some of the decisions that you've made and then look forward to what you want to do different? How will you make sure you don't fall back into any legal trouble?
It's different, because if I'm in an environment, you got to think about it. If I'm in an environment, I live on 18th and Burks at the time. 18th and Burks now is gentrified. It's turned to college, university. It's all college kids that live in that area now. But you hanging on 18th and Burks, and they selling drugs left, right. There's bodies left and right, violence left and right. It's like you could take the wrong step and just end up in the wrong situation. Now, I have the ability to travel, to be where I want, to be around a group of people that I want. Like, it was times where I step out the house and there's 3 drug dealers on my step. This is my next door neighbor got a gun, and the other neighbor got a gun too. And these are the people I'm hanging with. This is who I live next to. And I've been living next to these kids, people, since I was 10 years old, and now I'm 15 years old. So, you could just take the wrong step and land in trouble, you know what I'm saying? You're influenced by negativity. Now, I'm able to make a choice. I'm actually older, I'm wiser, so I make better choices than when I was 18 years old. I wouldn't be hanging in a house where it's an area where it's a high risk to go to jail, it's drug infested. I have the ability not to be able to do that, but everybody don't have that ability, and I understand it because that's where I come from. As far as me, I don't believe I don't got a good chance of getting caught up in anything like that, because I wouldn't even surround myself with them type of situations.
You've made life choices. You've made changes.
Yeah. I ain't have a choice. You know how Kanye said, if you have a choice to be a slave, I didn't have a choice. I grew up in public housing. The area was bad. That's how it was from the start of my life. And as I got older, I worked and I made a path so I didn't have to live that way. Yeah.
What are you going to do going forward now to help those who may also be in prison unjustly?
We're working on a foundation. We didn't really solidify everything with it, so it's hard for me to really speak, but 100% we're coming with something very big, and it's going to be very effective with the criminal justice reform world, because the only thing we're doing on this side, we're trying to do things that's extremely big and make a difference.
Did you say you're working on pulling together a foundation? Yeah,
Yeah,
to adjust
foundations.
it,
Yeah,
to address it. Yeah.
yeah, to address justice reform. We're trying to make it like very big, and I can't speak and give the specifics,
Yeah,
but
you're in your planning stages.
yeah, I'll be
I
back
got
to
you.
talk about it real soon, though.
Good. You had an opportunity, an invitation to sit down with President Trump in regards to his prison reform panel. Talk to me about why you decided not to go.
Yeah, well, the media made up a reason, said Jay-Z told me. I don't know why, but it was my decision as a man. I just ain't wanted to become what we talking about now. They like everybody. Meek Mill sitting down with Trump is Meek Mill sitting down with Trump. That wasn't really the case. When I first agreed to it, I agreed to it with some congressmen who helped introduce the bill with Trump, and they just wanted me to come support them. I didn't want the narrative to be about Meek Mill supporting Donald Trump or the White House, or Donald Trump supporting Meek Mill, and it become take away from what the real mission is. They had a bill. The president says he supports the bill. I didn't really think it was a difference if I was there or I wasn't there. I think in a situation like that, if things like that ever do take place, and I do agree to be at a situation like that, I want it to be an extraordinary situation where it affects people of my culture. Because coming up in my life, we never really cared about politics because we seen the things they talked about never really catered to our lifestyle or would help us growing up the way we were brought up. So
You have a different view now that maybe if you are collaborated and working with the right people, maybe you could make
yeah,
change.
it was actually, but it was their situation, and I didn't want to take the narrative off of what they really brought to the table and make it about Meek Mill and Donald Trump. You know, I'm a rapper. It's the president of the United States. He does a lot of things people don't like. He does some things that I don't represent, and for me to take the risk to even be criticized in that way or connect my platform to what's going on in the White House was a little too risky for what's going on right now. And I just got out of prison. Things are moving fast. Doors are always open to help save lives and help fix things. And hopefully when my name is at the table, it's something extraordinary going on, because that's what I'm representing right now. And I think I got like a lot of people behind me standing in support.
Obvious you do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your fans. What can they do? What do you want them to do? Is there anything that they can do on their platforms or in their daily lives?
I don't really, they did enough for me, you know what I'm saying? I don't really want to direct people to do anything. I would say just let's focus on justice reform. If you're a fan of me, I'm focused on reforming justice, the justice center system, and trying to make things, some of these policies and laws and rules that's placed upon us different and make a change. So, you know, cancel Free Meek and hashtag justice reform anytime. You know me, I always been an artist like that. I got a bunch of followers on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If I see like injustice take place through me looking at social media, I always would participate and make sure I spoke out and just added.
You're active.
Yeah, I always been active, even before my situation 6 months ago.
Is there anything else you want to say in regards to your plight, your goals in addressing the issues in our criminal justice system?
Yeah, I always speak like, and me, with my situation, you always see negative and positive, and I always talk about it's two worlds of America. I don't know what side of the world you may be from, or you have family members on that side. A lot of people always say they belong in jail. They broke the law, probation. They belong in jail. There's always two sides. People don't realize of being shackled from your ankles to your wrists and having to work for 8 cents an hour, or being locked in a cell 24 hours a day, being locked in a cell with 2 other men in a 6x9. It's inhumane, especially when crime is not involved. Like, I've been on this probation, and not just speaking on myself, it's thousands of other men who've been on probation since they was in their teenager years, who are still suffering in their adult stages, their early stages of the 30s of their life, where they're being placed in prison and turned from maybe a working citizen. Me, I consider myself as a king. I don't consider myself above anyone, but me, I consider myself as a king, where shouldn't be taken from a place where I'm taking care of my family, I'm working, I'm employing people, actually employing people to being chained down and locked down in a room 7 days a week like a slave. Uh, and I didn't commit crime. I'm not involved in the criminal world. And I believe like a lot of people don't understand when it's, he belongs in jail, or he belongs in jail.
How do you explain then that when people, those who say there was a technical violation, so something happened,
Yeah.
and then for those who don't understand, how do we make that a real picture?
Yeah, I just say, I always use this as an example. I know it's kind of wrong to use a dog, but if you train your dog for years and your dog pissed on the carpet and bit your neighbor's dog, would you lock it in a closet for a month? Would you? No. That's animal cruelty for locking your dog in the closet for something minor. You know what I'm saying? Why should we be locked in closet for something minor? Even if we did, I was wrongly convicted. Even if I did commit a crime at 18 and I had a straight run of 11 years without ever being in criminal contact again with the police, why should I be locked in my closet 23 hours a day? You know what I'm saying? That's who determines that line, you know what I'm saying? It's like prison is a real thing. Like a lot of people say, he's locked up. I just was going through some real things, man. Locked in a closet for 24 hours for 3 days straight is kind of like severe. And no crime has taken place. I made a mistake. I got addicted to opioids. I rehabilitated myself, but still got shackled down like one of the slaves you might see in a book back in 100 years ago, you know what I'm saying?
And your other point too being also that then you were there with no bail.
Yeah, and I was labeled a threat to the community. I don't really think I would be sitting right here on Action News if I was a threat to the community. I don't think organization like the Eagles, Philadelphia Eagles, or Philadelphia 76ers would be supporting Meek Mill if I was a threat to the community. It's really bigger than me being a rapper. I don't think the Eagles need Meek Mill. I don't think the 76ers need Meek Mill, and I don't think they would be supporting me if I was a threat to the community. I don't think they would be supporting me. Thousands of people would be standing outside these courthouses and speaking up for me if I was a flight risk. I'm on bail now. The Supreme Court granted me bail, and before they labeled me as a flight risk, like I would go on the run and wouldn't even face my situation with all this backing with people supporting me. I would just disregard that. So, you know, I want to change the narrative, even when judges looking at young black men, because not only me, we're quick to be labeled as a threat to the community. What is the definition of a threat to the community? I remember buying toys for every shelter in Philadelphia without having to be on the news. I remember donating money to numerous schools in Philadelphia. Actually, when it's November and kids going to school with hoodies on and don't having jackets, me going to go buy the jackets myself and making the guys they see on the corner that they call drug dealers pass out coats to the kids in the community. That's all I remember, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that I'm a perfect man or I'm an angel. I come from a ruthless environment where I've seen a lot of things and I've been through a lot of trauma, so I started off a little rough, but I don't remember being a threat to the community. And I want to change the narrative when judges are labeling young men growing up like that, and especially when black judges are doing it to other black people. I want to help change that narrative so, you know, we could fix the problem and not keep adding to the problem, because when they said that, I was like, am I a threat to the community? I had to ask myself, and I know I'm not, but it's just like, come on.
To hear it said that way.
Yeah, and it be said, it's a worldwide platform it's sat on, and some people are gonna look at that. Well, why you let him out of prison? He's a threat to the community, and that would be my label to some people for the rest of my life, if they don't ever view it from my side. So, you know, I just want to be a part of helping changing that narrative.
I want to switch to a few other stories, topics. First here. How excited are you about the future of the 76ers?
I'm super excited. I feel like we got a great young team. And, we ain't make it this year, but, you know, I represent wins and losses. I come from an underdog background, and we started off slow, and when we pick up, it's tremendous.
In regards to the Eagles, they have fully supported your music and that grit and that underdog mentality through your music, as I know you heard it being played,
Yeah.
practices, games everywhere. What did that make you feel like to see that happening?
It made me value myself even more. When I was in prison, I was watching the Super Bowl. I actually sat down. There was a guy in my cell with me, but I really wanted to sit there by myself and like just take it in. And a guy came in there with me, and we was watching together, and he was just telling me like, you know how major this is that like the Eagles are coming out to your song, and you know that was one of my brightest days in prison. I would say the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and coming out to my song, and uh, Beyonce shouting me out in the song. That was like two of my brightest days because you wouldn't even think these type of people cared about what was going on in my situation and all the people that was affected by these things I was going through.
Is it humbling? Does it take a toll on you when you just look at everything you're going through, and then to see the support you have? I mean, do you find yourself in awe or emotional about it?
I would say it takes a toll. It kind of it's a struggle, but you know I'm strong. I come from a super rough background where things are like 20 times rougher, and the way things are going now, I feel like I'm blessed from where I came from and where I'm at now, and to even have this type of support. Uh, you know, I could be complaining, but I won't complain because I know it's people in worse situations than me, and I'm turning a negative into a positive. So, you know, I said this earlier. I try not to, if it rained all last week and today is sunny, I ain't crying about how it was raining last week. I'm going to enjoy the sunny day and the sunny days to come. So, you know, that's the way I'm carrying it and how I'm living.
Your dreams and nightmares there.
Yeah, definitely.
So what's life like in the studio for you now? What's like, let me rephrase, what's life like for you now when you're in the studio? Have your recent events spawned some new inspiration?
Definitely. My recent events definitely brought me some new topics to talk about, and some of them are anger from what I went through. Some of them are informative for people to understand what I went through. Some of them are just a bunch of mixed emotions all in one. So, you know, I only been in the studio about 3-4 days since I've been back. I ain't rapping about 8 months. So, you know, I'm just brushing the dust off and getting back to work and doing what I need to do. Yeah. And it's been going real good. It's been going great.
I don't know how you do your sessions. Were you writing while you were in prison, or?
No, I wasn't writing in prison. I don't feel inspired when I'm in there. It's like a dark cloud over my head, and I only really do good at rapping when I feel inspired. I don't write my raps down. I just go in the booth and just keep rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing within my head until I get it right. So it was nowhere for me to really keep rehearsing and rehearsing because you got to record it when you're doing that so you can remember it. I ain't rap not one single time in prison.
What's the story then? What story can you give me in regards to this remix I'm hearing in regards to the Biggie Smalls and What's Beef?
Oh, no, it actually got changed around to What's Free. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't really talking about beef anymore. It was Biggie's birthday yesterday, and me and Ross happened to be in the studio. We just was recording, and this is not like an actual, like everything I'm recording now is just like, we just taking a stab. I'm just going in there and saying anything I want, and we'll decide later if I want to keep it, use it, if I like it, if I don't like it. So that was like kind of, I think Ross took the video on. That wasn't even supposed to, nobody wasn't even supposed to know what was going on. And actually, we didn't really know it was Biggie's birthday that day because it was the day before yesterday. It turned 12, and at 12 o'clock that morning, it was actually Biggie's birthday. Me and Ross was in the studio till 5 in the morning. So, you know, I'm just taking my stabs at everything and, you know, trying to come up with some great music for the fans. I ain't been around in about 6 to 8 months, so, you know, I think it's time for me to work hard and do some catching up.
I'll close on this in regards to Robert Meek Williams, the person, the man. You know, when you look at how you want your legacy to be, you look at your family, your son, you know, how do you put that into context?
I want my son to know that his father made it through anything they put in his way. Like, I want my son to know in life is always going to be obstacles, ups and downs, and it's the way you handle the obstacles. Because a lot of people years ago, said I was fell through a lot of stuff. No, he ain't going to make it all. He's done all. 2 to 4 years, he won't be able to come back, or life is over for him, music career. And you know, any obstacle, I want to be remembered as a fighter. Philly is like a fighter town, like the Rocky town, Philadelphia pride. Even the Eagles, we had to fight for our championship, our first championship. I want to be remembered as a fighter and someone who just always kept pushing and inspired the next person. Because when I was in there, I always got Mel. I read Mel. All the Mel was basically centered around how I inspired the person. And, you know, I wanted to continue to do that. I want to be one of the biggest influencers that ever came out of Philadelphia. I want to be able to continue to inspire, including my son.
Well, we'll be watching.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to continue to keep putting on so we can have something to watch and keep talking about.